Man, that delay took. Every time I do an update, it never fails. I hope we're not going to run any problems. Every time Prism has an update, I end up with a problem. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, no problems tonight. From station WDWL TV storeroom, with great anticipation, we bring you the pride of the station. Me. Because dickhead's still being punished. The grumpy old man. How's everyone doing? Roll call. Kathy, Linda, Ron. Okay, that's it. Show's over. Roll call's done. Man, this goddamn Cleveland weather. Jesus Christ. Today, 62 with cold ass drizzle. I don't think we're ever going to have spring around here, let alone summer. Christ. It's even too cold to plant. I'm really starting to give up on the idea of tomatoes this year. You feeling better today, Linda? Well, send some of that this way, Ron. I could take 96 degrees, no problem. Yeah, it's too goddamn cold. Even, and Kathy, you know the big nursery, Petites. Even he's advising to hold off on planting. Yeah, you're in that rotten weather zone, Linda. You just can't seem to catch a break weather-wise. Yeah, my Kathy, you know Petiti's Garden Center. You know, I don't know how if they had East Side, but you know they're big on the West Side. Not to mention, you know, he does a thing on the radio, answers your gardening questions, and Sunday he advised, don't plant yet unless, you know, you're going to put covers on everything. What I'm thinking of doing, where I buy my plants, they have pre-potted tomato plants. Guaranteed to grow in pots. As a matter of fact, I had 2 last year until the raccoons ate all my tomatoes. I'm not even going to take a chance planting in the yard. I'm just going to get me 2 or 3, whatever the selection is of the potted tomatoes, and I'll do them. Oh, I didn't know they had one. I should have figured that because patatas is freaking huge. And their prices are huge too. Several years back, I had bought potted tomatoes, and they did quite well for me. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up there. As a matter of fact, I called today and I said, "How's your vegetable plants?" And she goes, "How many truckloads you want?" And I said, "I take it there's not a big rush on them yet." And she goes, "No." So I'm going to go up and I'll get 2 or 3, or what do they call them? Patio tomatoes or some shit like that. They're already in a nice sized pot, in a cage, so that they don't escape. And they're like $19. I can't beat that. All I got to do is put it down, plant it, done. Okay. I'm kind of, I like early girls and beef masters, and I'm not big on cherry tomatoes, but if they have my yellow pear tomatoes, whatever pots are there, I'd like to get 3. See that way, like with an early girl, you get the earlier tomatoes, the beef masters, and then if I can get my little yellow pear tomatoes, I like them in salad. I don't care for cherry tomatoes because you end up with 50,000. Well, are they in pots? Are they $6 for a patio tomato, potted and everything? God, I'll drive down there and buy mine. Hey, Jenny! Welcome, welcome! How you doing? The pots are pretty good size. I would say 3-gallon, and they're in a cage. I don't know, $19 too expensive? I thought it was quite reasonable because the pots are square. I don't know, maybe 4-gallon. They're nice square pots, kind of decorative edges, to put on your patio. Oh, cherry tomatoes, tomato berries. I learned if you're going to plant a cherry tomato plant 1. One year I did 6 Jesus Christ. I must have had 5,000 cherry tomatoes. I usually will get one cherry tomato. I'll get two of the yellow pear. And then I'll get an early girl, a beef master, maybe a beefsteak. I got to see what's potted. Although, one year, they would pot for you. If you didn't want what they had, they would pot you like cherry tomatoes or whatever. They're very accommodating. They're right up at Warren Village Shopping Center. They're 10 minutes from me. And every year I have had excellent plants from them. It goes to show what my Jack and the Beanstalk plant. You know, any early girl, better boy, I like a meaty tomato because I like mine on sandwiches. No clam dip yet, Ron. I'm going to wait till the weekend. But I've got all the ingredients. The only ones I get the yellow pear because they're non-acid, and to me they taste better in a salad. But any tomatoes I grow, I like them for sandwiches. Because there'll be times I'll make a tomato sandwich. And I'm going to try Kathy's trick. I'm going to make a tomato sandwich with Lawson's chip dip. I didn't get the ham or the Swiss cheese or the rye bread yet. I think I'll wait till the weekend. I'll go up to my butcher shop and get nice, fresh sliced ham and Swiss cheese, and they have their own bakery, so I'll get a nice, fresh loaf of bread. Oh, you know, when I say tomato sandwiches, people look at you like, what? A tomato sandwich? Another thing I like to do, I like to put a slice of tomato in the middle of a grilled cheese. You know, Kathy, I don't know what it is. I tell people, I'm going to make me a couple of nice tomato sandwiches, and they're like, are you out of lunch meat? No, I'm not out of lunch meat. And then when I tell them I put a slice of tomato in the middle of a grilled cheese, holy shit, you'd think I was talking poison. That's the way my grandmother used to make them. She'd make a grilled cheese with a slice of tomato in the middle. Oh, they're delicious. It's delicious, Linda. Try it. I've made mine that way ever since. Two slices of cheese, Put the tomato in the middle, and oh, excellent. Super good flavor. Mm-mm-mm. I've even taken and put a slice of Spam in the middle of a grilled cheese. It's an acquired taste, Kathy. Every now and then I'll get Texas toast and make me a real a real grilled cheese. I've met a lot of people that don't care for grilled cheese sandwiches. Like I say, it's an acquired taste. Oh, childhood favorite, Ron. Grew up on it. I can remember 5, 6 years old. Nothing better than a bowl of tomato soup, a grilled cheese sandwich, and dip the grilled cheese sandwich in the tomato soup. Have you have well? I was going to say, have you experimented maybe using like margarine or I've never tried that, Jenny. And I'm a mustard lover too. Grilled cheese with mustard. I think the next time I make grilled cheese, I'll try that. Sounds good. Another way to eat a grilled cheese. See, you learn something every day. I've never heard of it, but I'll give it a try. I'm up for trying anything once. And being a mustard lover, Christ, my refrigerator must have 12 different kinds of mustard in it. Jeez. Every time I go in the store, I'm like, oh, I've never tried this one. Christ, I got Dijon mustard, Dusseldorf mustard, whole grain mustard, yellow mustard, creamy mustard, tangy mustard. What's another one? Oh, mustard with Vandalia onion. Now that is a very tasty mustard. Mustard with Vandalia onion. Onion. Oh, I have. Kathy, you can't live in Cleveland and not have stadium mustard. It's actually a cardinal sin if you don't have Cleveland Stadium mustard in your fridge. I forgot about that one, but yeah, that's a gimme. I always have one. I think I have a spare in the cupboard. And people don't realize that mustard was made especially for Cleveland Stadium. People think they call it stadium mustard for a fancy name. No. That was made especially for Cleveland Stadium. And that's why it's called Stadium Mustard. Oh, you get a care package, huh? Well, once you've had Stadium Mustard, you got it. Yeah, I could see why he sends you a care package, because mustard is just mustard. But people don't realize there's a history behind Stadium Mustard. It was, as a matter of fact, for years you couldn't buy it. It was only at the stadium. And then the demand, they decided, okay, we'll sell it to the public. I remember my grandfather, when no one was looking, he'd have a baby food jar. He'd fill up a baby food jar, stick it in his pocket. We always had it. We used it sparingly, too, because he almost got caught once. Yeah, if you ask the normal person the history behind Stadium Mustard, they're like, I can't remember who owned the Indians at that time. But he had talked to Bertmans and asked them if they could mix up a special mustard for the hot dogs at the stadium. And he came up with this light brown mustard, and it was a hit. Are those the hot dogs that have cucumber and everything on them? Is that a Shea Stadium hot dog? Man, when you see hot dogs from certain stadiums, it's unbelievable. I never had a hot dog with cucumber slices on it. Did you ever get over around the West Side Market, Kathy, and have hot dogs from Steve's Hot Dog? They were at 44th and Lorraine. They were the best goddamn hot dogs on earth. They owned the Indians at that time? Well, one of them was the one that got with Bertram's to mix up the special mustard. I remember good old Nick Milletti built the Coliseum and then they tore it down. Well, Steve's Hot Dogs was known probably all over northeastern Ohio. And then one day, because there were apartments above the restaurant, one of the tenants fell asleep with a cigarette, set his bed on fire, and burned the building to the ground. And Steve's never reopened. All we have now down the street is Hot Dog Inn, and they got lousy hot dogs. That used to be another treat. My grandfather, every now and then, we'd walk up to Steve's Hot Dog, get one with the works, and on the way back he'd be saying, "Don't tell Grandma." My grandmother's always one, "You're going to ruin your appetite." On the walk back from Steve's Hot Dogs, I had an appetite, believe me. Have you ever seen pictures of some of these goddamn hot dog concoctions that they have at these stadiums? Jesus. Hot dogs with sauerkraut and coleslaw and cucumber slices, and maybe you got a hot dog and a salad all in one. I'll tell you what though, the hot dogs that I get in bulk, Brookside, oh my God, they're delicious. It was back in the 20s. I knew it was around for a long time. God, they didn't sell it to the public until what? The 70s? I know it was, you couldn't get it for the longest time. Yeah, Ron, you get a hot dog and a Coke and fries, $50, you know. That was like I was telling everybody last summer, my buddy took his 3 grandkids to Jacobs Field for a ball game. Tickets and food and parking, $500. I remember going to Cleveland Stadium. You could sit in the bleachers for a nickel. And then after the 3rd inning, you could move into a box seat if nobody was sitting there. Now, that would be a hot dog I would enjoy, Kathy. That would be, that. As a matter of fact, I love sauerkraut on hot dogs. I don't know why I don't have it. Geez, I buy this bulk pack of hot dogs, and I didn't get a sauerkraut. That's all right. I got enough hot dogs left. I'll get me some sauerkraut. You know what I do when people think I'm fucking nuts? I saute my sauerkraut. I'll take in a fry pan and get the sauerkraut with just a touch of crispiness. Everybody's like, bleh. Oh, there's so many combinations you could do for hot dogs. I like coleslaw. I every now and then I like a good old slaw dog. Steve's used to have excellent slaw because they made their own coleslaw and they wouldn't tell anybody how they made it. It was it was outstanding. Yeah, a lot of times I'll do hot dog with sauerkraut. I'll do one with coleslaw. Do another one with dill relish and stadium mustard. That way I have like kind of the best of both worlds. I could eat hot dogs, which my doctor would be like, oh God, I could eat them 7 days a week. Especially the old fashioned ones that I get with the natural casings. Oh, I saved it. I saved it. Yeah, I like the one that overheated. Now my microphone just went bonkers. Jesus. I can't believe they have the damn things governed at 65 miles an hour. I guess they don't want anybody road racing a Wienermobile. And it was interesting. They're on a truck chassis. I'd like to know what they're powered by. Whether they're Ford or Chevy. Because they're on a 1-ton chassis. I would love to drive one. Last fall, they had applications to drive the Wienermobile. It was only open to college students. To drive the Wienermobiles to events all summer. And they were paying like $18 an hour. 2 people to a Wienermobile. And hotels paid, everything. I would love to do that for a summer. Drive all over events with the Wienermobile. I think that would be so cool. Now, was that when they offered it to sale for the public? Yeah, did you see the article? I thought it was cool. But they only offered it to college kids. Not old retired farts like me. Yeah, they were taking applications because they divide the U.S. up into 6 areas because there's 6 weenie mobiles, and you drive to all kinds of events. I I was all set to fill out the application, then it said college students only. Urgh. Oh, gee, you have to have a bachelor's degree. I didn't. Once it said college students, I was like, I'm done. You have to have a bachelor's degree to drive a Wienermobile. Oy vey. Although it would be neat to put on, I could, I could see a guy applying at a big corporation, for like a $300,000 job. They get down to his resume and said, drove Wienermobile. You're hired. It, I just wonder, like, you know, it's time to go to the motel for the night. Where do you park a Wienermobile? You'd have to guard that thing. I could see somebody grand theft Wienermobile. And the interesting thing, it was an advertising gimmick. And look how many years they have had Wienermobiles. They used to do neat shit like that back in the day, like Zippo with the Zippo mobile. I tell people about that, and they're like, "What?" Yes, there is an actual Zippo mobile, and the neat thing is, after the original got stolen, they built another one. And Zippo has it in their museum. You can go to the Zippo lighter factory and go in the museum and see the Zippo mobile. Now, that I would want. That's another one I'd like to drive. The Wienermobile and the Zippo mobile. Cat, remember when they had the Red Bull minis? I tried buying one of them, and they ended up crushing them. It was a mini with a big Red Bull can sticking out of the back end of it. And that they only did that like 2 years. You don't see Red Bull mobiles anymore. Yeah, I wrote Red Bull. I was like, when you mile them out and you take them out of service, I want to buy one. They said, no, we crushed them. What a waste of a neat car. If anything, take the Red Bull can out of the trunk. Because in the neighborhood, there was a girl that was a Red Bull rip, and I would see it parked in her driveway. You never saw a Red Bull mobile? Yeah, it was a mini, and it was shortened. A mini is short to begin with, but it was shortened, and it had a big giant Red Bull can sticking out of the trunk. And anytime there was an event, the Red Bull mobile would be there. And they had little keychains with little Red Bull cans. I had a bunch of them. I don't know what the hell happened to them over the years. I lost them. I'm really considering if I get, I'm still negotiating on the Passat. If I get the Passat, I might drive to Pennsylvania to the Zippo plant. I can take in my 3 broken lighters. Here, can you fix these while I'm here? Although they fix them for free. Well, they have. God, have you ever seen some of the planes that Red Bull has? They've got biplanes. And some neat racing planes. God damn. Red Bull's got a whole fleet of planes. Gargle them. Hey Wyatt, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you here. We were just talking about all the planes that Red Bull has. Biplanes and racing planes, and man, they got some neat stuff. That was another thing we used to have here, the air races. Then after that plane crashed into that house in Berea, there went the air races. You know, the remnants of that house are still standing. There was some big lawsuit, and I don't know what the full story was behind it, but if you drive into Berea, you have to know where to look. And the remnants of what was left of that house after the plane hit it are still there. You know, I don't like the taste of Red Bull. I don't like the taste of any of those energy drinks. Of course, they got so much sugar in them. No wonder you get wings. You're bouncing off the ceiling. My kid used to drink them things one after another. Then he always wondered why he was wound tighter than a Swiss watch. Be drinking one on the way to work, and then drinking one at work, and drinking another one at work, and he'd be like, and like, cut back on the Red Bull. I tried Red Bull. Oh, I tried a couple of them energy drinks, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And then they mix Red Bull with, oh, what the hell is that? Oh, God, I can see the bottle. It's green. Oh, what the hell's that alcohol they mix it with? Red Bull, and it comes in a dark green bottle. And you have to refrigerate it. Well, you don't have to, but it tastes, I guess it tastes better cold. Oh, shit, I can't. Yep, that's it. Wyatt got it. Jägermeister. I've never tried a Red Bull and Jägermeister, but ugh, just the thought of it. And then I'm thinking, who invented that? What idiot was sitting behind, a barmaid going, gee, what can I mix with Red Bull? Let's try Jägermeister. But not for me. I even mention alcohol, and my pain management doctor goes bonkers. It just don't sound appealing to me, Wyatt. Jägermeister's sweet. Red Bull is sweet. Wee. Why not just take sugar and pour it in your mouth? That's like, I'll never forget the first time I had a Long Island iced tea. Only to find out it has no tea in it. And then it knocked me on my ass. Oh, Linda, my kid would drink 8, 10 of them a day, and then wonder why that I had to scrape him off the ceiling when he, come home. He'd be wound tighter than long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I'm trying to think of the drink that was popular back in the 70s. It had orange juice in it. That was another one that I drank. With the orange juice in them, they go down easy. And then you go to get up off the bar stool, and it's like something hitting you between the eyes with a sledgehammer. Yeah, but why do they call it Long Island iced tea when it don't have any tea in it? It's got what, 9 different alcohol's in it. No, not Orange Crush. It was a bar drink that was big back in the 70s, and it had orange juice in it. Because I remember I banged back about 4 of those, and when I got up off the bar stool, they peeled me off the floor. I was like, holy shit, what hit me? And the bartender was laughing when I was pounding them. I'm like, give me another. Well, it didn't taste like iced tea to me. And it knocked me on my ass. No, not a screwdriver. Oh my God, what the hell was the name of that goddamn drink? You know, Linda, my doctor told me the same thing. Because I told him in the summer, like when I'm cutting the grass and that, I would get Gatorade. And he goes, no. Yeah, he told me Powerade instead. Because I used to like Gatorade. God, I can't think of the name of that goddamn drink. Because I remember when they opened the White Motor plant down in New River Valley. And we stayed at the Red Lion Inn. I still remember it. Because I was pounding them goddamn whatever that drink was called with the orange juice. It wasn't a screwdriver. Tequila Sunrise. Tequila Sunrise. I slammed 3 of them, and when I got up off the bar stool, I remember them picking me up off the floor. And then my dumbass did the same goddamn thing with Long Island iced teas. Yeah, I pounded back, I think, 4 Tequila Sunrises. I was like, oh, these go down easy. And the bartender was laughing his ass off. I got up off the bar stool to go to my hotel room, and then I was so goddamn hungover the next morning, I almost missed the plant tour. Oh, I went right. I stood up, and the next thing I remember, they were picking me off the floor. And the bartender laughed his balls off. He kept telling me, I told you, easy. Oh, Tequila Sunrise, it just goes right down. Learned my lesson. Never had another one. Never. Matter of fact, that was the last time I drank tequila, too. Back in the days, man, I could put some booze away. Not anymore. It's just a fleeting memory now. I have to sneak a Heineken. God forbid my doctor find out. My pain management doctor. Ugh. You could OD. Every now and then I'll sneak. Because I used to, oh Christ, I used to put Heineken away. I should own stock in the brewery with what I spent over the years on fucking Heineken. And then, because I was telling the Indian brothers about me and my Heineken, they gave me a Heineken bottle opener. Oh, Kathy, you'd have loved it today. They haven't had my cookies for 2 weeks now. So they were supposed to be there today. So I walked in the store and the younger brother, the littler one, he was just about to say something. And little Pixie is jumping up and down next to the cash register going, me, 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 me. So finally he told her, okay. She come around the counter. She's waving at me. Funny man. Funny man. I followed her down the aisle. And she pointed to these blue boxes and went, wrong cookie. I looked at the boxes. I was like, oh no. She's standing there going, wrong cookie, wrong cookie. I was like, oh shit. They were coconut, but they were like, they looked like slices of Melba toast. I was like, what the hell kind of cookies are those? They look like dried bread. Indians have weird cookies. You know, Melinda, I never developed a taste for wine. What? One. Only one. It's that one that they make from the frozen grapes. I can't remember the name of it. They wait till the grapes freeze. And then they make this wine from it. And it's to die for. Even the price is to die for. Oh my God, like $50, $60 a bottle. And the bottle ain't that big. But it's made from frozen grapes. As a matter of fact, up on the East Coast is where they mainly make it. Ice wine. Ice wine. That's the only wine I like. Ice wine. And it's so goddamn expensive. Christ, I think the last bottle I bought, which was probably about 10 years ago, was $60. I was drinking it out of shot glasses to make the bottle last. But that's the only one. That's the only wine I like. Ice wine. That's like my sister and my brother-in-law. They grow their own grapes and they make their own wine. They go to all the wine tasting events. But yeah, ice wine. They, like I say, the vineyards up on the East Coast is where they make most of it. It's outstanding. Oh, if I could afford a bottle more often, I'd buy one. But I was drinking it out of shot glasses to make that bottle last. You ever try it? Next time you get a windfall, buy yourself a bottle of ice wine. And you keep it in the fridge. But it is killer. If you like wine, try a bottle of ice wine. I don't know how they came up with the idea to make wine from frozen grapes, but it's outstanding. And take it from someone that don't like wine. My uncle's neighbor used to make his own wine. Every now and then he'd send over a gallon jug for my father. I tried it once. I was like, eeh. Although I'll tell you, I like sake. I like sake too. Another expensive. Yeah, Linda, if you're a wine drinker, get yourself a bottle of ice wine. You'll love it. It's got a very exquisite taste. And take that from somebody that don't drink wine. I went with a friend to a wine tasting party. And I was giving him my glasses. I was like, here. We got to the section with ice wine. And I told him, give me your glass. But it's not, it's not cheap. But like the guy up at the beverage store told me, it's a very hard wine to make. And that's why it costs so much. It's not like, if you're out in California and there's vineyards for miles. How did we go from hot dogs to wine? Boy, we have an eclectic chat here. Oh, my Slovenian sausages were excellent last night. Matter of fact, I saved the label off the package so I remember which ones to get. You know what they tell you to drink? Merlot. Doctors recommend Merlot. Drink it. My buddy, his doctor told him, take like a juice glass and have a juice glass of Merlot every night. Right, Linda. Not like Kaiser. No, I've never tried Merlot. Like I say, I'm not a wine drinker. But my buddy's doctor told him, after dinner, take a juice glass every night. Seemed to work for him. It was the first time I ever heard a doctor recommending you drink. But it worked for him. It actually lowered his blood pressure. I couldn't believe it. He'd get an 8-ounce juice glass every night before bed. He said it made him sleep better and lowered his blood pressure. Who knew? Although, look at the Italians. Christ. They could drink a gallon of wine and drive a school bus, And the French, too. Christ, the French get their kids started drinking wine when they're 5 years old. And look at their longevity, There's something to it. I don't like the taste of it. It's like beer. Some people enjoy light beer. I like Heineken. I like a good robust, but I can't hack dark. I'm trying to think of that dark beer that they drink a lot of it in England and Ireland. Oh God, what the hell's the name of that? I can see the can. I can't. The stuff looks like syrup when you pour it in. So goddamn dark, you can't see through it. Can't think of the name of that beer. Bingo! Guinness. I tried that once. I was like, oh my God, how can people drink this stuff? And I watch British movies, and they're pounding 16 ounces. Oh my God. I couldn't even finish it. I had probably 4 or 5 sips, and I was like, oh man, how can people drink this stuff? Not for me. That's like, I had a buddy that used to drink, get this, Genesee cream ale. Ugh. Talk about, talk about something to turn your stomach. Oh, he used to buy it by the case. Genesee cream ale. Mmm. Then the guy that used to live across the street from me, he drank Goebel, but he called it Jobel to make it sound classy. I have to go up and get me a case of Jobel. So what? Goebel. That's like my uncle used to drink Stroh's. I don't even think they make it anymore. I haven't seen Stroh's beer in years. My my uncle used to be the brewmaster for Carling's when they were here in Cleveland. Carling Black Label. He was the brewmaster. He told me a story. You know, they have them big, what they have, about 5,000 gallon vats that they brew the beer in, and they slide the doors open and look, you know. He told me how they could tell when the beer was done brewing by the number of dead cockroaches laying outside of the fucking brew tank. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Come in the morning, 10,000 dead cockroaches. Beer's ready to bottle, guys. He used to bring home cases of what they called shorts. And some bottles would have like 2 ounces in it. And some bottles would have almost full. So they would sell them to the employees. You could buy a case of shorts for like $1. He used to come home with trunks full. But sometimes it took you like 10 bottles before you actually got a full glass of beer. Oh yeah, Kathy, he told us all at a party once. He goes, yeah, that's how we can tell when the beer is done brewing. Come in the morning and 80,000 dead cockroaches. They call the poor janitor over. Bring the broom and the shovel. Beer's ready to bottle. And then Carlin closed the brewery here in Cleveland. You know, people. No, he wasn't joking. Because I talked to some of his coworkers and asked them, I says, is he bullshitting us? And he goes, nope. You know, people don't realize At one time, Cleveland had more breweries than Milwaukee. We were a huge brewery city. I remember when Schmidt's Brewery was down on 65th and Train, or Clark and Train. One of them. Schmidt's Beer. I'm trying to think of the slogan. Oh my God. Was it for Schmitz? The beer to have when you're having more than one. I can't remember the beer. If you took a drive down around Clark and Train and that area back in the day, you could see all the buildings, the Standard Brewing. That was another big one here. Standard Brewing. We had Carling's. We had Schmidt's. I'm trying to think of some of the others. Schaefer. Yep. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. I remember the slogan. I couldn't remember the beer. That was another one that was down on Train Avenue. Schaefer. There were breweries all over down that area. When they tore them all down, they all left town. Although Schaefer beer, that beer didn't last long. I don't know if they still brew it somewhere. But see, you have to go to a real beer store. You're not going to see Schaefer or Black Label or in your corner gas station. I'm sure some of these beers, well, Carling is big over in England. Huge over in England. I remember the other night watching a murder in my village, and this guy that offed his wife had stopped into this bar, and they were interviewing the barmaid, and she goes, "Yeah, he had a couple of Carlings, and then he left." And if you see scenes of bars in England, you see Carling all over the place. I haven't seen Carling beer around here in eons. I'm trying to think of the beer that... What the hell was the name of it? The champagne of bottled beers. I remember the slogan. I can't think of the name of the beer. Well, Carling Black Label was brewed right here. My uncle was a brewmaster at Carling's. He brewed Now all you see is Carling. I don't know if they call it Black Label over there. I've never seen Black Label. But you see the Carling sign in all the pubs. What the hell was it? The champagne of bottled beers. My neighbor drank that stuff by the case. It's strange. I can remember the slogans. I can't remember the beer to go with the slogan. Yeah, I remember Mabel, Black Label, Carling Black Label beer. I can't remember the champagne of bottled beers. What the hell's the beer? Champagne of bottled beers. It's another one I have not seen in ages. Was it Miller High Life? The champagne of bottled beers? I just hit Duquesne. I don't know. It must have been Miller. The champagne of bottled beer. And then I remember another one of my neighbors drove. He had Duquesne. It looked like Duquesne. I'll have a Duke. Ron is saving me here tonight. I can think of the slogan. He's coming up with the beer. But you don't see them. I mean, all the beers from my childhood that I remember. Mainly because all of my neighbors were big beer drinkers. Because the guy across the street that lived across the street from us drank Duquesne. And the guy that lived next door to him drank Old Vienna. And they used to argue back and forth what was the better beer. And the drunker they got, the louder they got. Old Vienna. Haven't seen that one since the 60s. But it's amazing, Carling disappeared basically from the U.S. And over in England, I'm thinking Carling over there is probably like their bar beer or their pub beer. The cheap Friday night. Because every bar has a cheap beer. And I'm just wondering if like Carling is the bar beer. I'm trying to think of some more of the beers from back in the day. I'm drawing a blank. I can see a lot of the bottles. I can't think of the names. Another neighbor of ours drank Little Kings. And then there was one, it looked like a little beer keg. A green bottle, looked like a little beer keg. Pabst, yeah, there's a Pabst. Pabst Blue Ribbon. That was a typical bar beer around Cleveland, Pabst. I remember they would have the one bar in Lakewood would have dollar Pabst night. You could get a Pabst for $1. Pabst Blue Ribbon. I was trying to think of that one. I could picture the can, Kathy. I couldn't picture the beer, the name. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. It's frothing slush. The beer with the foam on the bottom. Yeah. The problem is it never had the foam on the bottom. I was expecting them, to pour out a glass and the foam's down here. I don't know how they came up with that. Yeah, the stale pale ale. And it had this big chunky female in a bathing suit on the can. Now see, I'm not into dark beer. God, Ron, remember Miss Frothing Slush? She looked like an elephant in a bikini. Some of the weird beers back in the day. But Pabst Blue Ribbon, I remember that. The one bar in Lakewood that I would stop in had Buck Pabst night. They had it on tap. You'd get a 22-ouncer for $1. I drank 2 and it was like, see ya. Mainly because Lakewood used to love to cruise up and down Bar Alley. Madison Avenue in Lakewood had bar after bar during the summer. To tell you how many bars they had in Lakewood, they would start at 117th and go to the Rocky River Lakewood border, and they called it the Madison Walk. And you would go into each bar and have a beer. And hardly anybody could ever finish because you were so fucking drunk about 3/4 of the way down Madison Avenue. It used to be a big thing in Lakewood, the Madison Walk. You would start at 117th and try to make it to the Lakewood Rocky River border. Not too many people ever did. But you would go in each bar, and they were across the street from one of those, so you'd have to zigzag back and forth, have one beer. And it was amazing. If you walked, Lakewood would not bother you. But if they saw you get into a car, you were dead. That was it. If you kept walking, no matter how drunk you were, because they knew during the summer, people would do the Madison Walk. But if they saw you get into a car, especially behind the wheel, DUI. Bang, they got you. That was a big thing in Lakewood, the Madison Walk. I never participated. I'm a lightweight. But it was, yeah, it was amazing how many bars. Now, many of them have closed up. As a matter of fact, COVID killed a lot of bars in Lakewood. But at one time, there were that many. And why they all situated on Madison Avenue, I don't know. Matter of fact, there were many areas where it was bar, 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 bar. There'd be like 3 or 4 bars in a row, side by side. How they all stayed in business. But I know COVID killed a lot of the bars in Lakewood. Killed a lot of businesses, period. I'm trying to think of the name of that beer that came in a green keg bottle. I can't think of the name of it. Oh, they do. Oh, I forgot to check today. Thank you. I'm going to have to order a pair. Just put in butcher gloves, huh? $6.45. Cool, because I forgot all about it. See, if I don't write shit down, I forget. Now, Rolling Rock was a big green. That was a normal size. These were, they looked like little kegs. I remember Rolling Rock because for about 8 months, I worked for Detroit Diesel. I was a warranty administrator, and I couldn't put up with the big boss, so I quit. But every Friday night, all the employees would go to the bar around the corner, and they all drank Rolling Rock because they called the Detroit Diesel green bottles. And on Friday night, the barmaid would know we were heading over, and she'd start opening Rolling Rocks and setting them on the bar. And you just walk in and you'd grab one and then pay at the end of the bar. Yeah, they called it Detroit, even though it was, the bottles were darker than Detroit Diesel green paint. But they called it Detroit Diesel beer. Good old Rolling Rock. Mickey's! Mickey's! Yes! I knew somebody'd save me. Mickey's. The keg bottles. Boy, you guys are good. I'm coming up with the slogans, and you guys are coming up with the beer to save me. Good old Mickey's. Yes, yes, yes. Another one I haven't, but like I say, around here, they only carry the beers that sell. Oh, I haven't seen Blatz, and that was another big one back in the 60s, 70s Blatz beer. Yeah. But like I say, like, you know, my little store up at the corner, he only carries beers that sell. He's not going to carry something that's going to languish on a shelf. Now, if I asked him for a certain beer, he would get me some. But just to walk back by the coolers, I'll tell you what, it's sad. All the big beers from when I was growing up have disappeared. Although everybody's into these craft beers. Like there's a young guy, oh, he's got to be probably in his 30s. He drinks Yingling. Never had it, but that's all he gets. Yingling. Gets himself a 18 pack of Yingling. Although back years ago, I used to go into Cleveland Brewery right across the street from the West Side Market and sample different beers. Blatz? Really? It must be the cheap bar beer. God, it's hard to believe it's a it moved down from Ohio down to you, Kathy. I haven't, but at one time, I don't think it's there anymore. Out at Memphis Plaza, there was a big beer store, and they had to have 2,000 different beers in that place. Because I went in one day and I was just walking through the store and I started to laugh my ass off because there was a beer. It had a skeleton on the bottle and it was called That Dead Guy Ale. And I asked the guy, is this a joke? And he goes, nope. That's an actual brewery. That Dead Guy Ale. But it's, one of them little craft breweries. But that place, that store must have had 2,000 different kinds of beer. Of course, it was from all over the world, too. But it amazed me. But yeah, there's a guy that comes in, I've seen him a couple of times, gets Yingling. I guess it's a pretty big brewery, from what he was telling me. And the brewery goes back to like 1890 or something. I never heard of it. This guy knew all about that beer. Yingling Brewery. Yeah, I'm trying to think some of the other weird beers that they had in that place. That dead guy ale with a skeleton and a crossbones on the. I was like, I'd be afraid to drink that shit. But I'm gonna take a ride out there. Although it's been, God, 10 years since I've been out to that plaza. But he easily had 2,000 different beers in that store. And some really weird ones. But that dead guy ale, I wanted to buy one bottle. And he's, no, you gotta buy a 6-pack. And it was like $14 for a 6-pack 10 years ago. I was like, I don't need it that much. I just wanted it for the fucking bottle. That dead guy ale. That was the fucking name of the goddamn beer. There was another one, Tombstone Deluxe or something. I was amazed by all the beers. Because he actually had, and they were expensive. The beer was in a clay bottle with a like stopper top on it, but the bottle was clay. Import from Germany or somewhere over in that area. It was a clay bottle. I'd never seen a clay bottle before. I can't remember what the name of the beer was. It was amazing just to walk through the place, to see all the different beers. But like you say, go up to the gas station or up to my corner store. They only carry beer that's in demand. Matter of fact, Circle K has a beer cave. I've never been inside the beer cave. As a matter of fact, the gigantic eaglet, the big one, has this. They have a huge beer section. I've never really walked through it too much. Mainly because I don't care for gigantic eaglet. Oh, man. I'm gonna kill somebody. It's murder time. Okay, no murder. No murder. No murder. Was my next door neighbor's daughter. Yesterday, when I backed in my driveway, I noticed her left rear tire was flat. So I left her a note. No, it was what the hell's her name? Aaliyah. She had her car parked in front of my house, and her left rear tire was flat. And she told me she would have never noticed it, although her car's got them dinky, dipsy doodle, low profile tires on it anyway. Yeah, she told me she'd have just got in the car and drove off, you know. So she thanked me for leaving her a note, because I did. I put it under her windshield wiper. Your left rear tire is flat. She was just leaving to go to work. So she'd have never noticed it. That's okay, Linda. You know, she didn't have to thank me. I did it as courtesy because, you know, like she said, I would have just jumped in the car and gone to work. Got on the freeway, and she got, you know, a flat tire. And all these cars nowadays don't have fucking spare tires. She carries a little compressor, though. She said I aired it up. That was nice. Because, you know, these young kids, she's 21, 22. They don't pay no attention to that. I mean, I'm OCD, okay? Before I take off, I always look around all four of my tires. But she admitted, I'd have just jumped in the car and gone. Get on the freeway, destroy a tire. Young girl with all the idiots in the world. You know, you can't trust anybody today. You know, she break down on the freeway. You don't know if there's a goddamn good Samaritan. Well, that's the first thing I do. I come out before I get in either one of my vehicles. I do a quick look. Although, that's another reason I bought me the tire pressure monitoring system. I'm waiting for the weather to warm up so I can put this on the shit box, because that one right rear tire loses air. This way, as soon as I get in, it'll tell me. Well, you know, I knew it was her car. And like I say, it's dark out. And as I was backing in the driveway today, I noticed it was flat. So I come in and I wrote a note and I put it under her windshield wiper. And she admitted she was going to just jump in the car and leave for work. And she gets on the freeway. So, you know, she'd have gone quarter mile, half mile, and shredded that goddamn tire. Ruined a rim. So nobody else, people aren't considerate like this anymore. I noticed it. I figured she wouldn't look. So now her father owns a towing service. So, all she'd have to do is lock the doors and call and say, hey, I shredded a tire. So this way, she aired it up. Tomorrow, she'll probably take down to her father's shop, get it fixed. But see, I figured she would have jumped in the car, and she outright admitted. She goes, oh, God, I thank you for... She said, I would have just got on the freeway to go to work. Yeah, and you're not just checking tires. You're checking headlights, taillights, turn signals, four-way flashers, roof flashers. I don't know if your bus has a sign that says stop that pops out. Oh, yeah. School bus. Did you have to check your own oil too? Oil, radiator. But I know school bus inspection. Oh, yeah. If you don't do your pre-check, you could get fired. You check every... The interior lights too. I know you have to check every goddamn... Because you got a lot of responsibility. You got a lot of young lives sitting in that bus. I'm pretty sure it's mandatory. I don't think you could leave the terminal without. Now, after you finished your inspection, did you have to turn it into like a supervisor of the bus yard or something to show that you did your inspection and you were ready to go? Did you have to fuel up your own bus too? That had to be a bitch. Stand at the diesel pump, 40 gallons, 50 gallons, 60 gallons, 70 gallons, 80 gallons, 90 gallons. Oh, God. Ooh, okay. But you had to document that, didn't you? Oh, yeah, gas bus, no diesel. I know in school buses they're really stringent about your pre. Even a lot of your trucking companies, you have to make sure you do your pre-trip inspection. Did you have a short stick or a small hammer? Give your tires that 50-pound thump? Holy shit. You had to be worn out by the time you got done washing that son of a bitch. How many passenger? You didn't drive the little short bus, did you? The one we always used to make fun of kids. You ride the short bus. Every school has the short bus. See, I never rode a school bus. 78 passenger, good sized bus. Holy shit. I bet you could back that thing better than your car. You know, my buddy's wife, she drove for North Royalton School District. And she drove a minivan. She couldn't back that van for shit. But when she pulled into the bus yard, she could nail that bus into the parking spot in one hit. But she couldn't back her minivan for crap. Her husband used to make more fun of her. He'd like, Jesus Christ, you went over on the grass this morning, you know. But that school bus, she could wheel that son of a bitch like a NASCAR driver. Pull in the bus yard, right in her parking space. Bingo, perfect. Back her minivan out of the driveway? Nope. God, she drove for North Royalton school system for years. Matter of fact, she retired from it. She started driving school bus at, God, how the hell old was she? 24, 25 years old? And she retired. Yeah, it was amazing. Kathy, she had oh, what the hell was that? Pontiac, Montana. It was like an Astro van. She couldn't back that thing for shit. Full-size school bus. Nail it. Pull in the yard. Boom. Right in the parking space. One try. She always said the bus is easier to park. Yeah, she was one of the oldest in longevity bus drivers that North Royalton school system had, because she started driving bus at like 23, I think, or 24, and then she ended up retiring at 65. And never once had an accident in all those years. Not even a scrape. She could wheel a school bus like a pro. Matter of fact, she hated it because when she first started, the school system had those round nose, like regular city buses, but they had kind of like a round nose on them. And she said you sat over the fucking steering wheels, and then they went to the buses with the nose on them. She says it was a pain in the ass to get used to driving one of them. $8 years, wow, good for you. How come you quit? Got tired of screaming kids? As a matter of fact, she started before there were camera systems in the buses. I don't even think there were bus aids at the time. Did you like driving the flat nose buses? I remember I had a Toyota van. I sat over the frickin' steering wheel. No, the old typical bullshit, huh? Well, well, my buddy's wife, she hated to retire. They had a mandatory age, 65. She had to. But she loved driving school bus. Because it was funny because she would tell the kids, I remember your parents. The kids would be like, what? Yeah, I had your mother and father on my bus. That used to scare the shit out of the kids. I know who your parents were. I drove them when they were your age. Because when you're out in a school district like that, you end up with all the generations. Holy shit. Gee, when was this? I didn't see it in the news. And I usually read all kinds of little news stories. Good for you. Was this bus accident recently? I'm surprised I didn't see it on the news. Something like that would have made the news. Jesus Christ. Because recently there was a news story about a goddamn bus driver that was driving drunk. Matter of fact, the police stopped him halfway on his route, and it was in the morning. They arrested him right off the fucking school bus. As a matter of fact, none of his co-workers reported him, and they knew he was drinking on the job. One of the kids in the bus texted the goddamn police department. And they pulled the bus over like halfway through his route. Took him right off the fucking bus. It was just a couple weeks ago. Man, you're out in the sticks. Holy shit. Almost as bad as my buddy at that goddamn radio station in the middle of a cow pasture. I laughed my ass off when he told me that. Drive about a quarter mile back. Here's this big giant circle. Here's the radio station and fucking cows all around him. I asked him, what was the radio station? WCOW? That's out in the sticks, Kathy. When they interviewed some of the drivers, Kathy, they said they felt sorry for him because he needed the job. And they knew he was drinking in the morning. How old were the kids? They must not have been teenagers because you figure one of them would have jumped up and at least tromped on the brake. Jesus Christ. And watch the union fight to keep her employed. Oh, definitely. Well, middle school, high school, you'd think maybe somebody would have run up and tromped on the brake pedal. If they saw it. Man, that's a fucking shame. Jesus Christ. Yeah, big lawsuit's coming. I hope none of the kids got seriously injured. God damn. I hate hearing shit like that. Do they know why she fell asleep? Or is it all hush hush? Man. Oh, you had the fun ones, huh? The little tykes. That had to be cool. That's when they're obeying the bus driver and sitting nice Nice in their seats, holding their lunch boxes. Yes, Miss Canty. Good morning, Miss Canty. Boy, they kept you hopping, huh? Well, it's good that you liked it. It had to be kind of a fun job to have. See all the cute little kids. How the hell did she get a goddamn job driving a fucking bus with 4 DUIs? Don't they do fucking background checks? How in the hell could a goddamn fucking school bus driver get hired with 4 DUIs? Don't they do driver's license checks? Jesus Christ. Oh, the whole goddamn crew should get fired right up the line, right up to the goddamn head of the goddamn bus system and everything. That's because nobody checked anything. You can't hide that shit. It's fucking public record. It's obvious nobody ran her license. I'm surprised she had a license. Well, it's obvious the system is very flawed. Gee, I was watching Judge Fleischer the other day, and they ran a guy's driver's license, and they found out he had 2 DUIs out of California, and Fleischer is in Texas. Somebody didn't do their goddamn job. Jesus Christ. That's disgusting. I hope whoever hired her gets fired. Yeah, you're right. Cop out answer. Oh, we only checked one. I'd like to know how she got a license. Man, some flaws in the system there. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Any of the kids get seriously hurt? Oh, I sure as hell hope so. They better reform the whole goddamn system. Because she could have killed that whole busload of kids. But see, that's a problem today. Nobody checks anything. Well, the hell with the driver. How are the 8 kids? Anybody serious? Driver, they could hang her out to dry for all I care. That'd have been the last one I took to the hospital. I did leave the fucking driver there. Get the kids. Oh, Linda, attorneys are standing in line right now waving their business cards. Believe me. I bet each one of those parents has at least 6 or 8 attorneys calling them. Well, let's hope the one that's still in the hospital will make a full recovery. The major problem is those goddamn kids are scarred for life now. They'll be afraid to ride on a fucking school bus. They don't know what's ingrained in their memories now. Poor kids are probably having fucking nightmares. Jesus Christ. I'm surprised I didn't see a news story on it. Because when I read my AOL news this morning, it's got news from everywhere. And I would have read something like that. I'd have clicked on that article for sure. I don't know how I missed it. Ooh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh. God. I feel sorry for that one. That hurts. That's ungodly pain at any age. I know because a friend of mine was cleaning his gutters and fell off the goddamn roof. Broke his pelvis. Christ, he cried like a fucking baby. I'll have to go back and look it up. When was that? I'll gargle it. I'd like to read that news story. 13 years old. That's an age where it's going to stick in her memory banks for years. I hope they get a good therapy. Poor kid. Screwed up her summer now. She was probably looking forward to summer vacation too. I'll gargle it. Jesus Christ. Yep. Hang on. Need to make a note. Scratch paper. Mason Ferry Road. Got it. Note. I always have scratch paper handy. I'll be gargling that in the morning. I want to read that news story. Speaking of news stories, I think it's that time, peoples. Well, we're slowly turning into a 2.5-hour show in the evening now. Oops, come on, music. Where? Right here, WDWL TV. That's right. Time flies when you're having fun. And every night we do. We go multiple, bunch of subjects. So, everybody, it has been a fun time. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again tomorrow night. See ya.